Hey everyone, it's Clint. Welcome to Sweetcast Saturday afternoon, I guess. Saturday afternoon, not Saturday morning, but it's great to be making a video. So sometimes I go on Twitter and I just search comics. In this case, I searched work in comics, uh, just different things to sort of see what the buzz is about. And I found this, and it's a little different than you might think. This is really not about working in comics. This is about working in journalism. But are they really that different? Really? So this is Chris Arant. You've seen him, I don't know, places. Newsarama, that's his thing. He said, I was 37 when I became able to work full time in comics journalism, not comics, comics journalism, uh, which was kind of hilarious to me because of how this looks. 37 when I was able to work in comics. Usually, like, you think about all the masses of people that just aspire to working in comics full time. That's the dream. Everyone wants it, or most everyone wants it. I don't know that many people that are just like, I want to work comics part time. That's my dream, part time. There's always this thing out there like working full time in comics. That's the big dream. So what happens when journalists want to work in journalism so bad it becomes sort of the ultimate dream? And you'll see here his retweet. This isn't just about working in comics journalism. This is how journalism works. So I went to college for journalism. I switched over kind of to public relations, which really isn't that different than journalism. It's essentially the same degree. You take like three classes that are different. It's the same thing. But something that struck me is how many people want to work in journalism, and it has become this sort of romanticized like career. You know, there's so many movies about it. You're either going to be the hard hitting journalist, the investigative reporter. It's going to get in and find the hard hitting news, or you are a quasi celebrity. You're looked up to for just being so charming and intellectual at the same time. All of these kind of things, but it builds up to and it amounts to journalists that are self-important and have decided that they're going to push their own viewpoints and try and make the world a better place. That's ultimately what it's about, not reporting on the world, trying to change the world. That is not what journalism is supposed to be. So the interesting thing, specifically sort of honing in on comics journalism, it gets even weirder because comics journalism is a stepping stone much of the time to working into comics. Do you see a conflict of interest there? I certainly do. And that's one of the biggest problems with comics journalism, is because if you make a new site and you start talking about books or publishers that you want to work for, you want to work on, you're going to be, you're going to be really tainted. Your view is going to be tainted. You're going to try and look at it in the most, best possible light. Now, I see this. I don't consider myself a comics journalist. I'm a comic writer that has opinions and makes YouTube videos to share my opinions. That's what it comes down to. But I do cover comics news, I guess. Uh, I do find, if I'm being completely honest, there have been moments where I feel like I need to bow out of a particular discussion because I feel like I have a conflict of interest that comes up quite often, especially in the indie scene. Or there will come a time when there's definitely like any Mark Wade story. I just don't like Mark Wade. I'm very slanted against Mark Wade no matter what. Okay, so I have some bias there. Uh, the problem is when you have news sites that are hiring journalists, you would think that they could hire journalists that are there. The point is to be objective, and then give objective news. But that's not really the point. That's not the incentive. When you boil it down, all news sites, this goes for comics or anywhere else, it comes down to making money. And to get money, you got to get eyeballs. And to get eyeballs, you have to pick a point of view. or often you do. You're going to be more successful if you pick a point of view. So, what points of view are comics journalists going to take? They're going to be the points of view that prop up already existing people and companies that already have power. Because if you're friends, if you're on good terms with those that have power in the comic book industry, then your chances of working in comics after what, maybe another 37 years, uh, they're going to be better. You're going to have a better chance. So there's going to be butt kissing. What else happens? And anytime your those people of power have enemies or people that they don't like, you're automatically going to kick against those people to impress the powers that be. You see exactly this with Comicsgate. How many news journalists have posted outright slanderous information about Comicsgate and even individuals? You know, stuff lawsuits are made of because they're trying to impress the powers that be. Now, I've already said before that I think the power is going to shift. There's going to, people are going to start to realize that Marvel and DC aren't as big and powerful as they seem to be or as they used to be. And they're going to start finding that there's going to be more power distributed elsewhere. Where those power holders are, I think is still up in the air, but in my opinion, it has really moved over to individual creators who are able to connect to and speak to their own audience, speak directly to the customers. If you can do that, you hold a ton of the power. So in a world like that, how does comics journalism change? I actually think it changes for the better because you can make one small publisher very upset with you by you telling the truth. You could do that and you'll be fine. If you want to pivot over and make your own comic books, you still could. There's going to be nobody that's blocking you unless you, for some reason, wanted to work for that one particular publisher, small publisher. So I actually think this power shift ends up being a positive thing. And I know maybe this my trail of thought here through this video is a little hard to follow. To me, it makes perfect sense. Comic journalism has been corrupt for quite a while, and that's because it's trying to impress the mainstream comic industry and the powers that be. When they lose their power, it's inevitably going to make comics journalism at least a little bit better. Oh, there's still going to be biases, absolutely. I've already stated I have my own biases, uh, but at least if you're able to bow out when you have a conflict of interest, I think that's probably a good route to go. So indie comics, honestly, this is not a time to be sad for the comic book industry. I think this is a very positive thing for the comic book industry, and I see things. See things improving drastically for the future. Still some ways to go, I think, before I feel like things are right on and they're doing well. They're perfect. But in the meantime, it'll be interesting to watch as power shifts. So thanks for watching my video. Really appreciate it. I should have promoted this right at the beginning of my video, but here we go. We're almost at 40, excuse me, $65,000. That's almost where we're at. We're one backer, maybe two backers away, depending on what level you're backing at. That'll bring us to 65,000. That's a big deal. And we'll just keep pushing. That $70,000 stretch goal is getting closer and closer. So if you haven't backed it, please check it out. The link is in the description below, and I will see you in the next video.